Good morning, tulips. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Okay, are you ready to start? Let's sing hello. Hello, cha cha cha. Hello, cha cha cha. Hello, and how are you? Cha cha cha. I'm fine, cha cha cha. I'm fine, cha cha cha. And I hope that you are too, cha cha cha. Okay, guys, I'm gonna dive right into our lesson today, just because we have so much to do. So, what I want to talk to you guys right now about is the stuff we've been learning this week about water. So, we've been talking a little bit about water in regards to our weather, right? So, we've been talking about the stuff or the type of water that comes out of the clouds. What was that called again? Who remembers? It begins with the letter P. It's precipitation. Can we say that together? Precipitation. Precipitation is the types of water that fall out of our clouds. So let's look at our first type. Our first type is the kind we're going to get during spring because it's warm outside. Remember, spring starts Saturday. This is a liquid. What is the type of water that comes out of the clouds that's a liquid? It's rain, right? Could we say rain? Rain. Rain is what we're going to get all spring. And remember, it is a liquid. It's the type of water, right, that comes out of our faucet or that we use in the bathtub. It's a liquid. So rain is a liquid. Now, that being said, our other type of water, our other three types are solids, which means they're hard. Okay, I have some solid water here. I actually remember to make it this time. And some ice. So ice is a solid. These three types are solids. So what is the first type we had pretty much all winter? We had snow, right? We had snow fell out of the clouds. And snow happens, remember, when water freezes or gets cold. It turns from a solid to from a liquid to a solid, okay, when it gets cold. So snow was one type. We actually had this yesterday, guys. I was going to take a picture on my car. There was a few pieces, but I couldn't really get a good picture when I tried. So maybe you guys did see it, but apologies, I couldn't really get a good picture. Just want to photograph well, because there wasn't that much of it. We had this yesterday. It was little tiny pieces of ice. Okay, I actually have little tiny pieces of ice here, which you won't be able to see either. They are really tiny. Yeah, you can't see it. But what was the type of little tiny pieces of ice that falls out of the sky? We also have sleet, okay? Sleet is another thing that happens when it's cold. The water freezes from a liquid to a solid, small chunks of ice, and we get sleet. We did have it for a little bit yesterday because it was pretty cold out yesterday. So our last type are the big chunks of ice, more like the ice cubes I have here, okay, these big chunks. Now, this kind can actually be as big as a golf ball, but this is pretty much the size you usually see. Does anyone remember what the big chunks of ice are called? We have hail. Now, remember hail, I mean, it can occur during winter, but most of the time when it happens during the summer, during a thunderstorm, because thunderstorms happen when cold air and hot air crash into each other in the sky, okay, and that makes our thunderstorm. So when that happens, we actually can get hail because it freezes the water, even though it'll be in the middle of summer. So these are our four types of precipitation. Summertime, can we say precipitation? Ready? Precipitation. Remember, that just means a fancy word for water that comes out of our clouds. So our first type is our liquid type, and that is rain. Can we say rain? Rain. And our other three are our solids. So we have snow, snow, sleet, sleet, and hail. So now that you guys know that, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the three states of matter that water could be in. Well, that sounds fancy, doesn't it? It's really not. We've already learned some of it. So water could be in 3 different forms or states. That's the fancy word. So there's 3 forms that water can take. Well, we already talked about 2 of them, and if you watched my video the other day, you actually saw the 3rd. So the first type that water could be is a liquid, right? We saw this. Could we say liquid? Liquid water, again, is the type of water that comes out of our faucet, the type we take a bath in, and what rain is made out of. So this is a liquid. Could we say liquid? Liquid. So that is a liquid is our first type. Now, liquids, remember, I showed you yesterday, take the shape of whatever container they're in. Like right now, my liquid water is in a cylinder or circle-shaped glass, so it's shaped like a cylinder. But if I were to take that liquid water and pour it, remember it's in a cylinder container, now I have a kind of square-shaped container. Now look, the water's not a cylinder shape anymore. It now changes into a square. So water will take the shape or make the same shape of whatever type of container it is that it's in. So here it's a circle cylinder. Here it's kind of a square. Okay, so it changes shape. Now, the other type we've learned so far is our solid, right? Our solid would be like our snow, sleet, and hail is our solid type. These would be our ice cubes, okay? They're hard, right? They're hard. You can hear it actually as I shake it. It's pretty loud, right? It's hard. Now, solids always stay the same, okay? They don't change shape. Like right now, they look like this, right? They're in a square container. If I put them now in my cylinder glass, take a couple, wow, that's really cold. Look, they look exactly the same. So they don't change shape. They stay the same no matter what type of container they're in. So solids always stay the same shape. They don't change. Liquids change shape. Now, there's a 3rd type. We talked about it a tiny, teeny bit, and if you saw my science video the other day, you'll know what it is. Our 3rd type is a gas. So what's a gas? Well, believe it or not, right now, we are actually breathing in gas. You can't see it, but every single one of us, every person, and even my guinea pigs, every animal is breathing this in. It is oxygen, right? Everyone take a deep breath. We're breathing in oxygen, and we breathe out carbon dioxide. Remember we talked about this, plants do the opposite? Well, that's a gas. Oxygen we breathe in, and the carbon dioxide we breathe out are a gas, but we can't see them. Well, water actually can turn into a gas too. We call this water vapor. Now, you guys can see this if you put water on the stove, like if you saw in my video, if you boil pasta, you'll see steam rising out of the water. Now, it's kind of hard for me to show you that because unless I bring you in the kitchen, but I want to show you, here's my coffee cup from this morning. Now, my coffee was hot because I made it with hot water. If you guys look at the lid here, you'll actually be able to see I trapped some of the steam, okay? You can see it's all foggy. That's from the steam, okay? Because the water, I heated it up to make the coffee, and then steam rises up, up, up. But it got trapped by my coffee cup lid, couldn't go anywhere. So you actually can see the fog or the steam on this. It's kind of like if you guys take a really hot shower in the bathroom, you'll see your mirror gets all foggy because the steam rises out of the shower and goes onto the mirror. So that is a gas, and we call that water vapor. So these are the 3 types of states water could be in. It could be in liquid, like this. So could we say liquid, liquid? It could be a solid, like this. Could we say solid, solid? Or it can be our gas, like this one. Could we say gas, gas? Now, what's interesting is we could change water between the 3 types very easily by changing the temperature. Remember we talked about this with our weather. Temperature means how hot or cold something is. So we could change the temperature of our water and it'll change it between the 3 states. So again, if you guys saw my video the other day, you'll see I showed you how to do it. So our liquid water can be changed into a solid. I did that when I made our ice. Does anybody know how I did that? Well, I took liquid water and I put it in the freezer to make the ice. So you guys tell me, is the freezer hot or is it cold? The freezer's cold, right? So to make a liquid into a solid, you have to make it cold, right? I put this water in the freezer and it made it cold. I can go the opposite way now too. I could turn my solid into a liquid. So it's actually starting to happen already. When I put the ice cubes in my warm hand, because our bodies are warm, remember we take our temperature every day and it comes up like 98 degrees. It's pretty warm. It's actually starting to happen already. So I'm holding it on my warm body, and what's starting to happen? It's a solid, right? But it's starting to change into, I don't know if you could see it, but it's starting to change into a liquid in my hand. Why? My hand, remember, my body's hot. So it's heating up my ice cube and causing it to melt. So what does melt mean? Melt means going from a solid to a liquid when it gets hot, okay? My water is changing from a solid to a liquid when it heats up. Like I said, I hold it in my hand and it's already starting to melt. It's actually dripping all over my skirt a little bit because I'm heating it up. So then it's going from a solid back to the liquid. So if I were to leave these out for like an hour, they would melt completely and they would go back into their liquid form because my apartment's pretty warm. I have the heat on. But that's not the only two things we can change. They're the ones everyone knows the most. Our gas, okay? We can change water into a gas. Well, how did I do it? I just told you. When I made my coffee this morning, I poured in water, okay? And I heated it up in my Keurig to make my coffee. So I poured in regular liquid water. I heated it up, and when it was heated up, it rose out of my cup as water vapor or as steam. Okay, you can see I trapped it on here. So that is our steam. So I can change water from a liquid to a gas by heating it up. I showed you guys on the stove the other day, the same thing. So we could change that too. Now, there's one more we could do. It's really hard to tell on here, but it actually kind of happened already on my coffee cup. We can actually change water back the other direction from a gas to a liquid. How? Well, we can cool it or make it colder. So when my gas rose up and got trapped on my lid, it started to cool down or get colder. It's really hard to say, but there's a couple drops of it. You guys can see there's a little bit. Do you see the liquid water that's on the top of my cup? It cooled down and it turned from the hot steam back into a liquid water like I started with. Now that has a fancy name. We call that condensation. Could we say that? Condensation. Condensation is going from a gas where it's hot, making it colder, and it turns back to a liquid. Again, you can see that if you're making pasta and you put the lid on the pot, you'll see that there's little drops of water on the top. How did that happen? Well, it got colder again and it condenses or turns back into a liquid. That's actually, interestingly enough, how clouds are formed. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, okay? How it rains in the first place. We're going to talk about the water cycle that causes all of our precipitation to happen. So, but this is just a little preview. So these are our three types of water. So one more time, we have a liquid, solid, and gas. So I'm going to send you guys a pretty cool video, another Kids Academy with Bolly, right? We love Bolly video that you guys can watch after this to talk more about the three states of water. And it's very similar to the video I made the other day, but this one has Bolly. Let's be honest, we love Bolly. So I'm going to read you guys a little story about more precipitation. This book is one of my favorites. It was one of the books I even read as a kid. It's a pretty old book. Now, this book, again, has another award winner. It just seems to be our theme this week. We're reading a lot of award-winning books. This is the Caldecott Medal, okay, which means, again, that we know it's going to be a good book because it won an award. This book is called The Snowy Day. So before we even start, friends, you tell me, how do we get snow? It's a type of precipitation. Is it a liquid or is it a solid? It's a solid, right? So how did that happen? What happened to happen? What kind of weather do we need for snow? We need cold weather, right? Because it happens in the, what season? Winter, right? Our liquid water freezes or gets cold, turns into snow. So this book is called The Snowy Day. So wow, I'm actually looking at the copyright here. So I told you guys I read this book as a kid. My mom also told me she read it as a kid, and I found out why. This was published in 1962, so this book is pretty old. It's as old as my mom. So this is an older book, but that doesn't mean it's not a good one. One winter morning, remember we need it to be winter to snow because it has to be cold. Peter woke up and looked out of his window. Snow had fallen during the night. It covered everything as far as he could see. After breakfast, he put on his snowsuit and ran outside. The snow was piled up very high along the street to make a path for walking. Crunch, 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 crunch. His feet sank into the snow. He walked with his toes pointing out like this, and walked with his toes pointing in like this. So he made tracks or footprints in the snow. Then he dragged his feet slowly to make long tracks. He found something sticking out of the snow that made a new track. I wonder what it is. It was a stick. A stick that was just right for smacking a snow-covered tree. Does anybody think this is a good idea to smack the tree covered in snow? What do you think is going to happen? Down fell the snow. Plop. Right on top of Peter's head. And he keeps going. He's making more footprints. He thought it would be fun to join the big boys in their snowball fight, but he knew he wasn't old enough. Well, not quite yet. So he made a smiling snowman instead, and he made snow angels. He pretended he was a mountain climber. He climbed up, up, up a great big, tall, heaping mountain of snow and slid all the way down. He picked up one handful of snow and another, and still another. He packed it round and firm and put the snowball in his pocket for tomorrow and went inside his warm house. So here's what I need your guys' help with. I need you guys to think. Peter put the snowball in his pocket and went to his warm house. So remember, the snow is a solid, okay? What happens when we heat our solids up? They turn into what? They turn into something when they get heated up. So do you think Peter's still going to have his solid snowball in his pocket tomorrow inside his warm house? I think it's going to change into something else. What's it going to change into? Our liquid, right? When a solid heats up, it turns into a liquid. So guess what, Peter? Sorry to break it to you. Your snowball's going to be gone. Peter told his mother all about his adventures as she took off his wet socks. So why are his socks wet? Well, remember, snow is water, right? So it made his shoes wet. Peter thought and thought and thought about the snow. Before he got into bed, he looked in his pocket. His pocket was empty. The snowball wasn't there. Why? Where did the snowball go? Well, again, it was a solid, right? It got heated up in his warm house and it disappeared because it turned into a liquid, right? We know snow does not stay when it gets warm. If you guys actually think about in Frozen, right? Remember Olaf said he loved summer. Well, it was going to be a problem because what happened? Olaf started to melt, right? Elsa had to put the special magic on him to keep him from melting because he was getting heated up. And what happens to snow? It melts. So Olaf was going to melt. So he needed Elsa's special magic in summer to not melt. Peter felt very sad that his snowball melted. While he slept, he dreamed that the sun melted all the snow away again. So the sun would heat up the snow and melt it by turning it from a solid to a liquid. But when Peter woke up, his dream was gone and the snow was still everywhere. It still must have been cold. New snow was falling. After breakfast, he called to his friend from across the hall and they went out together into the deep, deep snow. The end. So I hope you guys liked that story. Tomorrow we're going to talk more about how we get the water into the clouds in the first place. So the last thing I want to do today, guys, is to read a fun book to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. So again, I told you guys a little bit this during our small group meetings, but what is St. Patrick's Day? St. Patrick's Day is a holiday that comes from Ireland. It says Ireland on my shirt. I've been to Ireland twice. That's actually where my family is originally from before they came to the United States. So Ireland is a country in Europe on the other side of the world. Now, the reason we wear green on St. Patrick's Day is green is a color that's associated with Ireland. Why? Ireland, it rains, and I mean like every single day I was there, and it always rains every single day. Well, we know plants need water, right? We've talked about that. So since there's so much water, there's green grass and green plants everywhere because the plants are really healthy because they get a lot of water. So everything in Ireland, when you look around, is green because there's so many plants everywhere because they get so much water. So that is why we wear green on St. Patrick's Day to represent. Remember, represent means something we think of when we think of Ireland. So we're going to learn more about this holiday. So this book says, Hooray for St. Patrick's Day. So we're going to learn a little bit more about St. Patrick's Day. And I'm going to talk to you guys about the stuff on the cover because they're all symbols. Remember, symbol means something that stands for something else for Ireland. So the first thing we have is our clover, right? We read the book about there wasn't a lady who swallowed a clover. Clovers or shamrocks are plants that grow in Ireland. So if you find one, supposedly it's supposed to bring you good luck. Now, the harp is also a symbol of Ireland, okay? It's their national symbol. Again, it just means something that stands for their country. They have a harp, okay? The bagpipes are an instrument that people often play in St. Patrick's Day parades. And we'll talk about what this is, shillelagh hammer. So St. Patrick's Day is a holiday that's celebrated on March 17th. It's an Irish holiday from Ireland. So today is March 17th. There is a leprechaun hidden in each scene of the book. Can you find him? So remember, we read our old lady book with the leprechaun, and I've told you guys we actually have a leprechaun hanging up in our classroom. So we're going to learn what a leprechaun is. Hooray, St. Patrick's Day is here. Hooray, let's have some fun the Irish way. So here again, here's our heart, our symbol of Ireland. This is actually the Irish flag. It's green, white, and orange. Can't really see it so well. So I'm going to lift the flap. Let's see what's behind here. On St. Patrick's Day, we all wear green. Now, there's a leprechaun hidden in this picture. Can anyone find him? He's right here. St. Patrick lived long ago. We tell his story in our show. Legend says that St. Patrick chased all the snakes out of Ireland. So supposedly when St. Patrick played his instruments, it scared all the snakes away. There's also sheep here. Friends, there are sheep literally everywhere in Ireland. So much that when you look up on the hills, there's just little white dots everywhere. There's lots of hills in Ireland, and they're all just filled with white dots. Those white dots are actually sheep. So when I was on the train, everywhere I just saw little white dots, and there's just sheep everywhere. So in Ireland, they actually use, a lot of the things they make are out of wool. Wool is the stuff that's made from sheep. Oh my gosh, they use wool to make clothes. So the wool comes from the sheep, and I don't have it on right now, but I actually have a sweater that's made from wool, and I have a scarf that's made from wool that I got from Ireland. I actually realized this is my husband's sweater from the closet that he got in Ireland when we went together. This is wool, okay? It's very, very warm, and it's the stuff that's on sheep. Like I said, there's sheep everywhere in Ireland. So what do they do with the wool? They make clothes out of it, and here is a wool sweater that my husband got when we were in Ireland. The shamrock has leaves of 3. So again, I have it on my shirt. 1, 2, 3 leaves. It grows in Ireland wild and free. So here's our shamrock plant. Look at what we made. So look, they made all different kinds of shamrock projects and a leprechaun. Does anyone see, speaking of the leprechaun, does anyone see the leprechaun hidden on this page? He's right here. It's party time. Let's dance some jigs. Then we'll all get shillelagh sprigs. So what is a jig? It's a type of dance. We kind of did it during our meeting before. So they're all dancing. Look, even the fish is dancing. So what are shillelagh sprigs? It's this hammer here with the clover on it. This is a shillelagh sprig. Boing! I like to dance. Does anyone see the leprechaun? He's under the chair. We wave green flags and green balloons. So on St. Patrick's Day, there's usually a parade. In New York City, where we live, there's actually one of the largest St. Patrick's Day parades in the country. So here they're playing the instruments, right? Remember, the instruments help scare, St. Patrick used them to scare the snakes out of Ireland. Here's our harp on our flag, and this baby has a St. Patrick's Day, my gosh, I can't speak, a flag from Ireland. Celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Yay! So here's their parade. Does anyone see the leprechaun? He's right here. And guess what flower he's picking? Tulips! We munch green grapes and green apples too. We try a taste of Irish stew. So in Ireland, friends, they eat a lot of stew, which is the thing that's warm. It has meat and vegetables in it. Because remember I told you it rains a lot in Ireland? It was also really, really cold. So I was there over the summer in August, right? We think the summer's hot. Not in Ireland. I still had to wear a sweater even though it was the middle of summer. It's very, very cold there. So they tend to eat food that keeps them warm. Oh my gosh, friends. I just knocked the computer over. So they tend to eat food that keeps them warm because it's cold there. At least I have to knock the computer over this time. Yummy. It's good. Does anyone see the leprechaun? He's hiding behind the tree. A leprechaun is hard to spot. We try to find his gold-filled pot. So here's our rainbow. Look, here it is. Let's look inside. So remember I told you the legend or the story is that if you catch a leprechaun at the end of a rainbow, he'll give you his pot of gold. And here's the gold. Does anyone see the leprechaun? He's really hidden in this picture. He's up in the tree. Happy St. Patrick's Day. So here's our rainbow and our pot of gold. And does anyone see the leprechaun this time? He's right here. So friends, you want to know something really funny? In Ireland, there's actually a museum about leprechauns. I haven't been to it, but there is literally a whole museum dedicated just to leprechauns because they're a story that comes from Ireland and it's pretty famous. So they made a whole museum about them. So here are some words that we've learned in this story. Irish stew is a stew that's made with lamb, beef, potatoes, onions, and parsley. A leprechaun is an elf of Irish legend who is believed to know the location of hidden treasure, like a pot of gold. St. Patrick is the patron saint of Ireland. St. Patrick was a shepherd, which means he took care of sheep. Remember I told you there's sheep everywhere there, who lived in England and Ireland in the 4th and 5th century. A shamrock is part of the clover family and is the national symbol of Ireland. It's actually not 100% true, friends. Actually, the harp is the national symbol of Ireland, and I'm positive of that because they told me. But it's something that people think of when they think of Ireland. And shillelagh is a famous Irish forest. A long time ago, it was popular to carry a shillelagh sprig, which is a walking stick made of wood that's shaped like a hammer. Today, people carry the shillelagh sprigs on St. Patrick's Day. The end. So today, friends, I think I told you already, but I'm going to send you guys a little craft that you can do. I'm going to send you a rainbow that you can color and a pot of gold that you can color to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. So if you guys do that, I would love to see a picture of it, okay? I'd love to see a picture of your rainbows, and then we can post them on Class Dojo for everyone to see. So also later today, I am going to make a science experiment that we were actually going to make today in class. And it has to do with rainbows and water. So if it's both our St. Patrick's and our water unit. But I'm going to send you guys that later today because I actually haven't done it yet. So I hope you guys had fun today. And I hope you have a great St. Patrick's Day. Bye.